In a bid to get an interview with a tech guru named Anton, a blogger named Franklin gets a day job at a tech conference where a new product is about to be unveiled. While he's doing his job of checking people into the hall, he meets a lady named Jala and instantly can't take his eyes off her. When they're both through with work, she also seems to like him, and he gets to ask her out on a date. She agrees to this, and they also choose a spot to meet up after he leaves the conference. As she heads out, Franklin immediately finds his friend Andy, who gives him an access bracelet that gets him into the conference through the back door. While Franklin is unsure if his plan will work, Andy assures him that he swiped the bracelet from his boss, who works at Anton's company. With this, Franklin successfully makes it past some security guards and sees Anton arriving with his guard Ingram. Despite his efforts to hide behind a curtain, Anton finds Franklin and asks why he's hiding. As Franklin explains that he only wants an interview, he notices Anton's strange ring. Before he can say much, Anton leaves him alone and tells him to enjoy the show. Just then, Anton meets with the audience and unveils his new product, which is a bracelet that can help push people toward making the right decisions regarding their health. Anton also mentions that with the new device, people won't have to rely on medication to live a healthy life. Just as Franklin watches Anton while he's giving his speech, a man suddenly comes out of nowhere with a gun. He threatens to kill Anton, claiming that his company is hurting people. Just before he shoots, Franklin knocks the man down and saves Anton. As the cops then take the strange man away, Anton thanks Franklin for saving his life. He also mentions that he'll contact Franklin later to schedule the interview he wants. Franklin looks happy with this, and as he watches Anton leave with Ingram, he sees the strange ring on the floor. Despite having a detective talking to him about his heroic act, Franklin can't help but admire the ring. He suddenly gets the urge to press the black part on it, and this leaves him shocked as he gets taken back in time. Franklin can't believe what just happened, but he remains calm and keeps the ring after remembering that he still has to meet with Jala later that night. He eventually heads to the restaurant for their date, and while he's waiting for her, he keeps looking at the ring. Just then, a waiter comes over to ask if he needs anything, but he says he's okay. As she then sees the ring with him and tries to touch it, Franklin keeps her back, but in the process, he presses the ring. It takes him back in time again, and this leaves him shocked. However, he tries it one more time to determine how far back he goes, and with this, he discovers that it's only for 57 seconds. Jala eventually arrives, and they soon decide to take a walk outside the restaurant. While they're walking, Jala mentions that she's a painter, and Franklin also tells her that he's more like an investigative journalist who writes about how technology affects health. Franklin also adds that he's going to interview Anton soon. Jala looks proud of him, and she agrees to follow him to his place. Not long after they arrive at his apartment, Franklin takes her into his room, but she suddenly gets disgusted when she sees a girl's picture and other girls' stuff in the room. Because she thinks he already has a girlfriend, she tells him she must leave. However, Franklin uses Anton's ring to reverse time to prevent Jala from seeing the girl's stuff in his room. When she also complains about something else, he uses the ring again until she's completely happy with him. Elsewhere, the CEO of a pharmaceutical company named Sig tells his two trusted employees, Calvert and Renee, about how the shooting at Anton's conference could be a PR stunt. Sig is not a big fan of Anton because the tech guru is trying to send him out of business with his new product. He asks if Renee knows anything about Franklin, but all she says is that he's a writer. Sig then mentions that Franklin could help with writing a good review to help get his business back on track. Following this, he instructs Calvert to look into Franklin to see if he'll find anything suspicious. The next morning, Franklin's car gets towed, and he's unable to use the ring to save it because it's already past 57 seconds. While he's lamenting about this, Calvert secretly watches him from across the road. Franklin eventually returns to his apartment and complains to Jala about how he doesn't have enough money to bail his car. She tells him to wait until after his interview with Anton blows up, but Franklin doesn't think he'll make any money from it in such a short time. Just as she leaves, Franklin sees the advert for a casino on TV, and this gives him an incredible idea. That morning, he heads to a casino and uses the ring to make quite a lot of money. From there, he buys a new car and heads to a different casino. His winning streak continues, and it leaves the guards at the casino suspicious of him. Just as he's leaving, One of the guards tries to knock him out, but he uses the ring to prevent it from happening a second time. However, he eventually gets caught outside when he's unable to use the ring. Before he gets beaten badly, because the guards think he cheated, Calvert shows up to rescue him. After the guards leave, Calvert offers to take Franklin to get something to eat. He agrees, and while they're at the restaurant, Calvert tries to get Franklin to give up his secret. However, Franklin says he was lucky. Just then, Calvert tells Franklin that Sig would like to hire him to do some PR work for one of his drugs named Zoniston, which is currently getting negative reviews. Franklin happens to know this drug because it's in the news for killing people. After saying he's not interested, Calvert still gives him Sig's card in case he changes his mind. When he gets home, Jala comes over to see him, and after a while, she asks to use his laptop. As she opens it, she sees a girl's picture on his wallpaper and asks him about it. He then tells her that the lady is his sister and that she died after overdosing on Zoniston. Franklin also mentions that his sister's death is the reason he started his blog. He adds that while he uses his real name on some of his articles, he also uses an alias to write negative reviews about companies like Sig's. Jala admires this, and just as she tells him how heroic it is, he shows her the painting kit he got her. She looks happy and thanks him for it, after which he also shows her his new car. Just then, Franklin receives a call from Anton telling him to come over if he's ready for the interview. Franklin is pleased with this, and as he looks around, Ingram is already around to pick him up. Shortly after, Franklin meets with Anton, who gives him 2 health bracelets for him and Jala. During the interview, Anton mentions that he's trying to make his bracelets a complete replacement for medication. He also adds that he's working on an upgrade to prevent accidents and other sources of pain that are not medically related. He tells Franklin that he plans to use some quantum crystals he found decades ago to get this done. Just before he concludes the interview, Anton tells Franklin that he has a feeling the blogger wants to fight for justice. He then encourages Franklin to avoid being scared of fighting for the right thing. Later that night, Franklin starts to consider meeting with Sig to hear what he has to say. Even though Jala is unsure about the plan, she tells him it could be a good way to get revenge for his sister. The next day, Franklin goes to Sig's house to see what he has to say. Calvert looks happy to see him, and after a while, Franklin meets Sig and Renee. Just then, Franklin blames Sig for his sister's death and also slaps him. Before things get out of hand, he taps the ring to reverse time. He then manages to impress Sig by giving him ideas on how to tackle the negative PR for Zoniston. Following this, Sig mentions that Calvert has told him that Franklin has special abilities. Franklin says it's just a skill and that he only knows how to predict things very well. Sig decides to test him by telling him to guess what he will do next after whistling. He mentions that he'll give Franklin $100K if he gets it right. He adds that if Franklin is wrong, Calvert will get fired for bringing him a fraudster. Franklin makes the wrong guess at first, but after he taps the rings, he tells Sig exactly what he saw during his first attempt. Sig is shocked at how good Franklin is, and he agrees to hire the blogger. After he leaves, though, Sig tells Renee that he thinks Franklin's abilities might have something to do with Anton. He then adds that he'll be keeping an eye on Franklin. Later that night, Franklin tells Jala that he has agreed to temporarily work for Sig until he finds incriminating stuff to get him arrested. Jala doesn't think it's a good idea, but Franklin says he knows what he's doing and that he could also make a lot of money that would be enough to move to a big house with her. Almost immediately, he asks her to marry him, and she agrees. The next day, Franklin resumes his job at Sig's office. After he's shown where he'll be staying, Sig sends a lady to seduce him, but Franklin sends her back. While Sig is watching this through a hidden camera in Franklin's office, he looks disappointed and tells his 2 trusted employees that they need to find out more about Franklin. Sig adds that Franklin's abilities could be because of the health bracelet he's always wearing. He then suggests bringing Franklin and Jala to a party where they won't have to use the bracelets. After the couple gets invited, they meet Sig and his associates on his private jet. There, he asks them to take off their bracelets because the host of the party they're heading to is not a fan of Anton. Franklin agrees, but this doesn't make a difference, as he still manages to make a lot of money during a game at the party. Despite being under surveillance, Sig's men don't find anything on Franklin, and he immediately tells his employees to make sure Jala says something. However, Renee is unable to get anything tangible from Jala. Later that night, Sig asks Franklin how he keeps guessing right. As he jokes about just being lucky, a man named James comes from nowhere and kills Sig as well as Renee and Calvert. Franklin and Jala are able to escape, but James finds them. Despite trying to tell the man that he's not with Sig, Franklin watches as James kills Jala. Before he then gets killed, he reverses time with his ring. As James shows up again, Franklin knocks him out before he can do anything. Sig also realizes that Franklin has just saved his life. Later that night, Jala commends Franklin for yet another heroic act. She also invites him to her art exhibition happening the next day. As they then keep talking, Franklin reads a news story where he sees that James actually came to kill Sig because his wife, Susan, killed herself while working with Sig's company. The next day, Franklin goes to Renee's office and sees her hiding some documents inside a safe. He asks her about Susan, but she deflects the question. When Franklin then says he needs the information to help the company, Renee says she'll check for any available documents on Susan. She, however, reports it to Sig, who is still feeling grateful to Franklin for saving his life. Even though Renee and Calvert now doubt Franklin, Sig says he needs to thank the blogger properly. He then meets Franklin in his office where he says the company has nothing on Susan. He also invites Franklin to a place where he'll get his present for his heroic act. Franklin agrees, and Sig takes him to a bar where his drink gets spiked. Following this, Sig takes him into a room with some ladies. It then turns out that Sig brought Franklin over to take some embarrassing pictures that can be used to blackmail him in the future. That night, Franklin wakes up in the motel room where he was drugged, only to see that Sig is gone. Franklin immediately heads home, only to see Anton in the house with Jala. Anton then explains that he went to Jala's exhibition and only followed her home to check some of her other paintings. As he's about to leave, though, he mentions that he didn't expect Franklin to save Sig. After Anton leaves, Jala fights with Franklin for not coming to her exhibition. He tries to make excuses, but she doesn't seem to care. The fight soon escalates, and just as she slaps him, they both land in the swimming pool. While they're struggling to swim back up, Jala mistakenly presses Franklin's ring, and this reverses the time. However, Jala also experiences it. She asks Franklin what happened, and he explains that the ring can reverse time for only a few seconds. He also mentioned that he found the ring on the night he saved Anton. Jala realizes that the ring is what Franklin has been using to make very good predictions and increase his riches. She also realizes that he has used it with her before, so she leaves the house. The next morning, Franklin realizes that he needs to work faster in exposing Sig. He then meets with Renee at the office and asks for the combination to the safe. When she refuses to give him, he resorts to threatening her with a gun. However, she screams, so he uses the ring to reverse time. He does this several times until he finally gets her to give him the correct code. Following this, he reverses the time and waits until Renee goes home before breaking into her office to take the documents in the safe. That night, Franklin realizes that the documents include pictures and other files that Sig can use to blackmail his workers. As he looks through everything, Franklin finds his pictures, as well as the one meant for Susan and Calvert. With this, he calls Andy to help him broadcast it during a basketball game at one of Anton's properties. Even though Andy initially hesitates, Franklin sends him a lot of money to convince him. Andy agrees to do it, and during the game, he broadcasts all the incriminating information on Sig. Franklin then tries to call Jala to say sorry for everything that happened, but her line doesn't go through. Much later, as he's leaving the house, he gets knocked out by one of Sig's men. When Franklin wakes up, he sees Sig blaming him for ruining his reputation. He also mentions that he wants Franklin to record a video where he confesses that all the incriminating information on Sig is fake. When he refuses to do this, Sig shows Franklin that he has brought Jala along as collateral. Just as they're about to be taken to Sig's plane, Jala tells Franklin that she's proud of what he did. Shortly after, the cops start getting closer to the plane, so Franklin comes up with a plan. He tells Jala to tap on the ring, and just as she does so, he helps her escape. However, Sig gets Franklin to join the plane before the cops get closer. As Calvert then flies the plane, a cop shoots at them until one of the engines gets affected. While Calvert struggles to keep the plane in the air, Sig blames Franklin for everything that's happening. However, Franklin looks at his ring and wonders what he can do next. Just then, Sig touches him and presses the ring in the process. This takes them back in time, and Sig realizes that the ring is powerful. He punches Franklin and takes it from him, but it doesn't work. Franklin then says they're all going to die because the ring can't take them back to before they entered the plane. Shortly after, the plane crashes, but Calvert survives. Jala immediately runs to see if Franklin is still alive, but she sees Renee first. Eventually, she sees Franklin and looks relieved by this. Not long after, though, the plane blows up, and Franklin tells Jala that Sig is gone. As they then walk away, they see Anton and Ingram waiting for them. Franklin doesn't get why Anton keeps following him, but before he can say much, the tech guru tells him that he intentionally made him have the ring. He mentions that the moment he saw Franklin, he knew he was a perfect fit for a test to see how technology could affect human decisions and actions. Franklin is shocked to hear this, and Anton also adds that aside from using quantum crystals, he realized that he could change the world by seeing the future. He then asks Franklin to join him in changing the world. However, Franklin says he's not interested because the ring is dangerous. Following this, he smashes the ring. But this doesn't make Anton change his mind. Anton still tells him to become his partner in changing the world, but Franklin says he has already helped by destroying the ring. He and Jala also drop their bracelets, after which they walk away together.